December 2010, Chris Colepaugh visited SJDA for a special performance. Students began the day by setting up the equipment in the school gym. Chris Colepaugh discussed his musical career with several students and was even kind enough to give an interview.
Hello Chris, and welcome to SJDA. Thank you for coming in for an interview.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well my first question is, what influenced you most to get into music?
Well, I come from a pretty musical family. My father's side all played, and my mother's side all sang. So at my house, there was pretty much music going 24 hours a day. So there were pianos and guitars around. So it was pretty easy to, to get into it. I mean, I started as a piano player, and then went to a drummer, and turned into a guitar player. So
yeah. When did you start playing the guitar?
I was about 16 or 17 when I started. I'd been playing drums for a bunch of years, and just kind of got tired of carrying them around. You really couldn't go to a party and play your drums and, okay, here's a great song by so-and-so, and then, here's another one, you know. I figured there had to be a better way, and it was one summer night I was watching Much Music, and they had a rerun of Woodstock, and there was Crosby, Stills and Nash doing Sweet Doo Doo Blue Eyes, and when I saw Stephen Stills, I said, that's it, that's what I want to be. And that was the first song I ever learned, and that's pretty much my history right there.
Wow. Yeah. What is your favorite album?
It depends on the day, and I guess by who. I have so many, man. I listen to everything from classical to speed metal, so, I mean, if I'm listening to, heavy metal like Motorhead, Ace of Spades, great record, you know what I mean? I love the Beatles. Let It Be is one of my favorite records. Jimi Hendrix, Axe as Bold as Love, It just depends on who it is and the day. If you were to look at my iPod, you'd freak out, because it literally, it's from ABBA to ZZ Top.
Wow. Yeah. How has your music changed since you first began recording?
It kind of went through two different phases. It started off as a songwriter-driven thing, and then as we progressed as a band, we started touring, and we morphed into more of like a jam band kind of thing, where lyrics and everything else kind of weren't as important as the 18-minute epic guitar solo, drum solo, bass solo, you know what I mean? That's where we kind of got to, and I think now we've kind of come full circle where, in order to get anywhere, I guess, you got to have a good song, and that's how people are going to be drawn to you as a band and want to take your stuff home, because if you've got good songs, then they'll want to buy your records and then listen to them when they're home and then come back to see your shows, and the cycle continues. So that's where I think we are right now, in a good spot where the last bunch of records have been more song-oriented and song-focused.
Have you played at many other schools?
Yeah, we used to do a whole lot of schools back home in Moncton. We did Moncton High a bunch of years in the summer. They'd host, we were actually one of the first bands to do it. They had like an outdoor pavilion thing that was built. And we did a bunch of shows out there, which was fantastic. And it was really cool because a lot of the kids that came, I mean, there's 400 or 500 kids that would come to these shows. And every one of them went somewhere different later on. They would go like to university all over the world, or move all over the world, and we'd be touring through someplace, and this kid would come up and say, hey man, I saw you at such and such high school back, 5 years ago. It was awesome. It was really, really cool thing. So we love doing it. I mean, it's great. So this is one of many, and hopefully many to come.
So, are you going on tour to help support your new album, Missed a Page?
We have been in the middle of it. We just finished an Ontario-Quebec leg, and we're in the middle of our Maritime leg, finishing it up. Actually, we've got a show tonight in St. John, or Hampton actually, sorry, and Moncton next week in Halifax, and then that's it for the new year. And I think in the new year we'll be doing a lot more shows throughout the Maritimes in Canada.
Who are your top 3 favorite artists of all time?
Of all time? The Beatles is definitely one of my most influenced, where I take my most influence. I would definitely say CSN as well, and Jimi Hendrix would be my top 3 that I could say right off the top of my head that have mostly affected my life.
Who do you think is the most overrated artist?
That's a loaded question. I guess no one really is. I think there's a lot of hype around some bands that sometimes don't obviously live up to that. They have some good in them, but I think I'm trying to avoid the question. No, I mean, there's no such thing as an overrated band. Everyone has their place. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to it.
What is your least favorite genre of music?
I don't really have a least favorite, but I would say like today's kind of hip hop stuff. I'm not into as much as I like the old stuff, like the new guys that were coming up back in the '80s and that were really innovating that style. I really got off on that. That was really cool stuff. Today, I'm not so sure. Like some of it, it's all bling bling, money money, and booty in there. I don't know. It just doesn't really. To me, the new school rap and hip hop is just, and you know what? That is overrated. You know what I mean? Because a lot of that style tends to get a lot of publicity, and I don't feel that they're as deserving as their forefathers were. You know what I mean? Like the young MCs and those guys and Run DMCs who were really at the cusp of doing something really cool, and still do. A lot of them still play.
Well, thank you for your time.
So we'd like to give you a copy of our charity CD and also the Colepaugh monkey. And we'd like to thank the Red Herring who donated some of the sound equipment, as well as Jamie Steele who gave us some of his equipment and a lot of his expertise.
Who organized a lot of the show, and everyone, all the students who helped him set up, especially Dominic. Lastly, we'd like to thank everyone who bought beards today and supported the show and the Rock and Ride, which will be held on June 4th. We're having a group picture in the lobby afterwards in front of the big beard next to the Christmas tree. You can also buy Chris Colepaugh and the Comic Cruise CDs, Cosmic Cruise CDs and t-shirts in the lobby, or sign up on their email list to get a free sticker.
So thank you.
The sweetest winds they once blew across an